Yes, people, welcome back to 1894 for the first match preview of the season. City take on Leicester in the Community Shield to start off the campaign. Let's get right into it. Okay, Joe, it is the start of the season. It feels like the last season only ended a few weeks ago because the Euro was obviously 2 or 3 weeks ago. But City are back this Saturday in Wembley, our second home. We take on Leicester. And I'm very excited. I'm very excited because obviously the last time we saw City play was quite a tough time. There's the Champions League final. But we're back. Quite a few players will not be available for obvious reasons. The Euros were on just a few weeks ago. Many of them got, to quite advanced stages of the competition. Quite a few England internationals that are literally have only been off for 2.5 odd weeks. So obviously the predicted 11 we make is going to be based off that, which we're going to put on screen right now. And we're going to talk about this, Joe, because throughout pre-season, which has just finished, I think we had 3 fixtures, didn't we? We had Preston, Barnsley and Blackpool. I think we thumped them all pretty easily, and it was quite of a mixed team. There were some players who weren't so involved with their national teams or not involved at all with their national teams playing in our preseason games, and then it was mixed with some EDS players or some of the stars of the EDS team, the likes of Cole Palmer and Adozie, who you can see we have on the left wing right now. But anyway, we'll talk about our selections and why we chose them, Joe. I think Stefan and Nets, obviously, because Ederson, I think he's still in his holidays, if I'm not mistaken. Mendy at left back, he's not been too bad in pre-season from what I've seen. I didn't watch the Blackpool game, but I saw Preston and Barnsley. I know you saw the Blackpool game, so you can give your thoughts on that. Then Ake and Diaz. I know Laporte just returned to training, I think, in the last couple of days. But I don't think he'll start this game. He might get the second half just to get some sort of match sharpness before, obviously, the Spurs game the following weekend. Diaz has been pretty good in pre-season. I think he gave a penalty away against Blackpool the other night, if I'm not mistaken. But he's always trustworthy. And then Cancelo, a right full, who's also been decent in pre-season. Joe, what do you make of this back four?
There's not much breathing room with it, with the players that we have available, because obviously the England players aren't available, Brazil players aren't available. They reached finals with their respective national teams. So obviously in goal, unless you put Carson in there, which a few people I want to see because it's just a bit funny. I think Stefan played most of the preseason, so he will most likely have started anyway, really, because normally cup competitions you put out your second choice anyway. Stones is, I haven't seen him in training, obviously England player. So unless Laporte gets thrown in, although he didn't play a minute of pre-season, so I doubt it. Zinchenko did get some time in pre-season, but Mendy did play the large majority, so I do think it'll be him, and obviously Walker's another England player, so I think we're almost certain to see that.
Yeah, I think the defence and then the front three, as you can see, there's not a lot of room for breathing, but there are some players that have done pretty well. But I know it's good to give the England internationals and Brazil internationals, whatever, those who are still on an extended break, it's good to give them the break because they need it after they had a really long season, an extended season last season, let's bear in mind, because of COVID, straight into a Euros then. But that also makes me slightly apprehensive for the first Premier League game against Spurs next week. I know Spurs will be depleted because we know they won't have Harry Kane. But listen, they've been a bogey team for us, so I'd almost like if our players could get a few minutes just for sharpness, but you're not going to find the perfect balance, are you? Anyway, moving into midfield, which I think is the strongest part of the pitch for us. All these players have played a little bit in pre-season. Fernandinho, Gundo and Bernardo, very trusty three in midfield. I think all of them had pretty good seasons last season to an extent. For Bernardo, didn't play as much as he might have wanted to, but Fernandinho and Gundo both had exceptional seasons, and they've all done decent in pre-season so far as well. So that's pretty strong, if you ask me. And then moving up to the front three, we've got Mahrez on the right, who has been outrageous in pre-season, almost unfairly so on the teams we played against. Torres up front, simply because I don't know we don't know who else could play there. Delap's going out on loan. Jesus is still on his holidays, or else returning very soon. Obviously we've no Aguero, and obviously Harry Kane there's no deal done there yet, so I feel like Torres is the striker essentially right now. And then we've chosen Adozie. We're not saying that's the most likely, we just think based on the fact he got 3 goals in 3 games, Pep will give him the chance, simple as. Joe, the midfield is pretty strong. The attack, we were clutching straws a bit other than Mahrez. What are you thinking?
Yeah, there's not too much breathing room. You could possibly see McAtee. He also had a very good pre-season. The likes of Palmer and Doyle didn't really see many minutes because there was an outbreak, and a lot of the EDS players did have to stop training, which is why they weren't as involved as maybe some people would have hoped. Kevin De Bruyne has been back for some of the longest of the players that went to the Euros. Obviously still feeling a little bit off due to the fact that he did, he had a facial fracture, so he said he still can't feel the side of his face, so he could start maybe as a false nine, but I think, Torres is back. We're not going to have a perfect solution, like you said, because we just don't have the players because of that extended season. So, who knows? It could be anything. Rodgers also back, but Fernandinho played the most of it. So I would expect we'd see at least one under-23 player in there.
I'd say it's most likely a Dozy as well. I think the talk of the day, even though, yes, it's the Community Shield, it's sort of like the opening ceremony nearly, like, the Euros or whatever, World Cups, whatever, to the Premier League season. The Community Shield is FA Cup winners, Leicester versus ourselves, Premier League winners. But the talk of the day will more than likely be about our £100 million signing, Jack Grealish, who got announced officially today at the time of recording. There was talk of him yesterday potentially being available or could feature in the Community Shield. He's not in our starting 11 because we simply don't think he'll start. I said it in our video about Grealish the other day, the one before announcement, which was that he'll be in the same boat as the England internationals and the rest of the internationals who got to the advanced stages of their competitions. But if we were to do a predicted bench, he'd be on our bench. I think Pep might give him maybe 5-10 minutes just to unveil him to the fans, which is quite exciting. But listen, in terms of the actual game itself, from a City perspective, I know it doesn't actually mean a huge amount. But listen, silverware is silverware as well. It doesn't actually mean a huge amount. It's more almost like an extra pre-season fixture. But I do firmly believe that winning breeds winning, and to get off to a good start or the best start possible, I talked about this at the back end of last season, going into the Champions League final, every last percentage of advantage counts. And a win in the Community Shield in Wembley, lift a little bit of silverware in front of City fans as well, of course, will do no harm going into what will be a tough game ultimately against Tottenham next week. So I would expect that the players who go out on Saturday go out wholeheartedly and give their all, because at the same time they are also fighting for their places. Bringing in players like Grealish, possibly Kane, dare I say it, Lionel Messi. There's going to be mad competition for places, so everyone's got to play to the best of their ability. That's exactly what you want from your team. You want all the players to be hot on their toes, not feeling comfortable. Like with Grealish coming in, players like Gundo, players like Raz, and anybody really in that forward section of the pitch is going to feel nervous, and every game they play, every minute they're on the pitch, they have to perform, and that's what you want from a top team. That's how you challenge for trophies. Everyone on their toes, like I say. Do you agree with what I'm saying about the sort of winning breeds winning thing, even though it's not the most important game in the world, Joe?
Yeah, most people view the Community Shield as almost like another pre-season game, especially now with the lack of pre-season that you're getting at the moment. But again, it's a trophy up for grabs. Winning can't hurt, can it? So I think we should do all we can to try and bring it home. I think, if we don't, there will be a lot of carnage on Twitter. You signed Grealish for 100 million and you didn't win the Community Shield. He left to win trophies and all of this. So I think, just set the ground running, set the tempo for the season. We're not here to mess about, and just, go try to win the game and win the Community Shield again, hopefully.
Yeah, well, listen, we do love a good day out in Wembley, don't we? We've got a pretty good track record there over the last few years. Listen, I'm just really excited to have City back. It's not a Premier League game. It's not a Champions League game. And we're not under the illusion that this is a crunch tie. But it's great to have City back. It's great to get a look at some of our players. Just now days away from the Premier League opening game. So in terms of how Leicester are going to pose a threat, we're going to move on to the next segment where we will also give our score predictions. First one of the season. Let's get over to it. Okay, so in terms of our opposition for the day, Leicester, they have a few new signings. I think they're on the brink of possibly losing a player or two. And of course, they have one or two pretty nasty injuries I heard about in the last few days. So God knows what sort of team they have. In terms of signings, they brought in this fella Daka, who is reportedly a pretty good player from what I've heard over the last 12 months even. Bertrand and Samare. I'm not too familiar with Samare, but I'm sure they're pretty good players because they've had pretty good recruitment over the last few years. They had a couple of players, I believe, involved in the Euros. I know Yuri Tillman's just off the top of my head. He may not feature, but they might be in a different boat to us where they do put out their full strength team on the basis that they look to get a win over City or pick up another bit of silverware, because the Community Shield would mean a lot more to Leicester than it would to us. No disrespect to Leicester. I think they're a pretty cool club, but I think I am right in saying it would mean a bit more to them. What do you reckon, Joe?
Yeah, they do have a few players that went to the Euros. I think the biggest one for them would be Schmeichel. Schmeichel went to the semi-finals with Denmark, so I imagine they'd do everything they can to get him to play because he is a very good goalkeeper, and that'd be crucial to them, beating us. So I think if he doesn't start, that could be a big loss. Of course, they do have new signings, Daka, Samare, and Ryan Bertrand. I don't think any of them, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think any of them did international tournaments, so they should be fine. Maddison could leave. He's one of the players rumoured to be leaving. Could be going to Arsenal, so who knows about his future. And then obviously they unfortunately lost Fofana to an injury in pre-season. Horror tackle, horror injury. No one wants to see it, but football is football. It can be cruel sometimes.
Yeah. Listen, your heart has to go out for players like in Fofana's position who are probably going to be out for quite a while. But yeah, they are still a very good team. Brendan Rodgers has them drilled very well. They won the FA Cup for a reason. I think they just missed out on Champions League, if I remember last season's final standings correctly. So they're a good team. They've arguably broken into this new top 6 or top 7, whatever you want to call it. And they'll probably, like I said, because it means a bit more to them, go all guns blazing to whatever extent they can. And try to get a win over us this weekend, you know what I mean? Even the small things matter. They might find beating City, who have just signed up a £100 million player, a big omen and give them a big confidence boost going into the Premier League season. Don't know who they have on opening day, but I'm sure we'll have a bit more information about Leicester on Saturday for our watch-along, which we'll be doing. We're doing our first watch-along of the season for this game, so come along for that. But before we wrap up, Joe, I think it's time we got our very first score predictions of the season, and I'm going to give you the honour of giving the first prediction of the campaign.
Hope the first one is a right one. I think I'm going to go with a 2-1 win. I think we just have enough quality to get it done, especially off the bench, because if you look at our predicted 11, there's a lot of players who were at international tournaments that we think are going to be on the bench, like Kevin De Bruyne, Jack Grealish. So if we are ever in a losing or a drawing position, we have the firepower off the bench to just come and grab a winner.
So Joe says 2-1 to City, and we take on the Community Shield. I'm gonna say a 2-0. I'm gonna say we score 2. We don't concede. I don't think they'll play Jamie Vardy because of his age. They wanted him to have a bit more rest, or maybe they will. But I think our defence will be able to keep them out because, like I said earlier on the video, everyone is putting in the best performance possible because they want to be in the team for the Tottenham game. They want to be in the team consistently now throughout the Premier League. I'm going 2-0, but listen, the team Pep puts out could be anything. We could see any formation or any 11 players in the pitch because, like I said, or like we've talked about so much now, there's so many players who are still on their break or literally just returning in the next few days. But Joe says 2-1, I say 2-0. Leave your score predictions, first ones of the season, down below in the comments and let us know what you think the predicted 11 could be. It's really up in the air. Do you agree with our one? Would you make some changes? Anyone you think could possibly be there? Let us know down in the comments. We're very, very excited for the new season. First watch along this Saturday. If you remember last season, we had great fun and the people in the comments were great crack with us. And we hope to have more of the same this season. So let's get our blue shirts on and look forward to the new season. Good night. God bless. Enjoy the game.